Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of Hockey Headliners. I will be doing this episode by myself. Later on, we might have some other people come on and discuss topics around the league and some other stuff. I'm obviously a Boston Bruins fan. Having an okay start to the season so far. I'm going to be discussing each team and how they've done so far this season. So we're going to start off in the East. I'm going to go by standing so far. Just keep it easy. So in the Atlantic Division so far, we're going to go the East first. So Atlantic Division, the Bruins, honestly, they're exceeding expectations right now for me. Coming off Stanley Cup Finals loss, you never know what's going to happen. But I'm glad they responded very well. So that's positive. 21 games played, 13 wins, 3 losses, 5 overtime losses, 31 points. The overtime category is iffy. You know, a lot of our losses have come in shootouts. So as we've only lost 3 in regulation so far. The boys aren't doing the best at shootouts, especially since Charlie Coyle's the only Bruin who scored in a shootout this season. He scored both our shootout goals. So next on the list, we're going with the Florida Panthers. After a huge offseason signing Sergei Bobrovsky. At the start of the season, they looked a little shaky the first couple games or so, but they're evening it out now. They're in second in the Atlantic right now with 27 points, only 4 points behind the Bruins. Their goal differential is only +3, which is kind of surprising considering the amount of talent they got on that team with Jonathan Huberdeau and Alexander Barkov being a two-way forward. Next is the Montreal Canadiens. The Habs have had a great start to the season so far, in my opinion. You know, they have 26 points. They just lost Jonathan Drouin to wrist surgery, and Paul Byron, he's out, so they're going to be without both those guys for 1 or 2 months, which could impact them, but you know, Carey Price can steal some games for you. Next, we're going to go with the Buffalo Sabres, sitting in 4th in the Atlantic right now, right outside a couple points back of the Habs. So Sabres started the season off great, but the past 5 or 6 games there, they're kind of slumping. Last night they lost to the Wild. So look for a bounce back week from them. But Jack Eichel and Sam Reinhart, you can't go wrong there. Dahlin's proven that he was that number 1 pick that they needed anyways. Moving on to the Toronto Maple Leafs. You know, it's bittersweet here being a Bruins fan and seeing Toronto struggle, but you know, it's hard not to like Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and the system they got going on in Toronto, but I do enjoy seeing them lose as they've played 23 games. So they've played 2 more games more than anybody in Atlantic that's above them right now. So the Bruins, Panthers, Canadiens, and Sabres, they've all played 21. The Leafs played 23. The Leafs are actually 9 points back of the Bruins right now. So that's big for the Leafs. As many people are writing them off already and wanting Mike Babcock to be fired. I think they'll turn it around. You know, I'd like to say they're going to miss, but I think they'll sneak in there as a wild card team. But if they don't do anything here the next week or 2, they're going to be out of it before they can get back into it. Next is Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, Tampa has struggled so far this season, especially after dominating season last year. But they have only played 18 games. If you look at the teams ahead of them, who's all played three games more than them, or Toronto, who's played 5 games more than them. Tampa's only 2 points back of the Leafs, and with 5 games in hand, that's nothing. Like Tampa can go on a streak where they win 10 straight, you know. So we'll see what happens, but don't expect to keep Stamkos and Kucherov off the score sheet for too much longer. Going on with the Senators, I'll do the Senators and Red Wings right quick because they're pretty simple. They both playing how we expected them. It's pretty much those 2 teams are going to be bottom 3, 4 in the league. But there's been some bright spots there with Dylan Larkin in Detroit coming into his own. He played well last season, but this year he's really starting to heat it up. That minus 32 goal differential for the Red Wings is pretty bad. Moving on to the Metro. So Washington, you know, they're off to a really hot start. Braden Holtby has not played very well, but Ilya Samsonov is a real good surprise there for the Capitals. Come free agency this offseason, Holtby's up, so good to keep their options open, honestly. They only have 3 losses in regulation, so that's big for them. The Islanders, second in the Metro, 31 points. They're 5 points back of the Caps, but Caps have played 4 more games than them, so Islanders could come back and pass them here in the very near future. The Islanders are on a huge point streak. Is it 14, 15 games now? They just came back and beat the Pens last night. So, big for them. Next up is the Hurricanes. Bunch of jerks from Carolina. You know, they're right where I expected them to be. I didn't expect them to be doing this well so far, but a lot of teams in the Metro, like near the bottom, are not doing very well. So, we'll see what happens, but I think they'll stay up there. Next, we have the Penguins. 25 points, sitting 4th in the Metro. You know, they're doing well considering the amount of injuries that they do have. Like, Crosby, he's out. He has hernia. Chris Letang, he's out. Malkin, he was out a while. They just keep getting hit with injuries. Nick Bukestad. So, we'll see what happens, but it's going to be tough for them, especially without Sid for a month, 2 months. But if any team can do it, it can be the Penguins. Next up, right behind them, is the Flyers, sitting at 24 points, 1 back of the Pens. Flyers are kind of surprising me this season. I didn't expect them to do overly well, but I did expect them to compete for a playoff spot, which is exactly where they're at. I think they're sitting second wild card right now. So keep an eye on them. But Sean Couturier, he has a great start to the season again. Voracek is slumping. He's past 2-3 seasons he's been off, so maybe declining. But yeah. Next up, we go to the Columbus Blue Jackets. After losing Panarin and Bobrovsky both in free agency, they go on to add Gustav Nyquist. Haven't really heard much about them this season, honestly. Like, Korpisalo hasn't played awful, but what can you do when you lose your number 1 goaltender? So they're 8-8-4 right now. So they only have 20 points, but they're not out of it yet. They can still compete, but I don't think the back half of the season is going to treat them very well. Moving on to the Rangers, who sit second last in the Metro with 18 points. They're actually tied with the Devils, but the Devils have played 2 more games than them. So Kakko and Hughes, both of them started off slow. They're both starting to find their scoring touch now. I don't know if it was just jitters or what it was, but the Rangers have been playing better. Devils, they lost last night 5-1 to the Bruins, but they did play well. There were some positives there. Blake Coleman, he's been great for them this season. But the Devils did just send Corey Schneider down to the AHL. What can you do with that cap money, though? So, moving on to the Western Conference. I'm just filming this on my iPhone, so I don't know what quality it is, but I'm going to do my best to try to get some microphones and some other stuff here once I get going here. The Central Division Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues leading it with 31 points. You know, I did not expect them to play this well this season. Last year, they were last place halfway through the season, and then they would go and beat the Bruins in the Cup final. Heartbreaking. Yeah, I know many people might not find that heartbreaking, but Game 7 at home, you always expect to win. But no, the Blues have played well. Binghamton hasn't been as good as he was last year, but what can you do after a Stanley Cup championship victory like that? But yeah, no, the Blues are playing well. Only +3 goal differential though. They'll need to clean that up if they want to keep winning games, but they're a good defensive team. Next up is Colorado Avalanche. They're not really surprising this year. They're doing what everyone expected them to do. 21 games, 13 wins, 6 losses, 2 OT losses, 28 points. McKinnon is on a tear again this season, but they're really missing Gabriel Landeskog and Mikko Rantanen, who are out a while. A lot of teams' star players are missing right now. Like same with the Blues, Tarasenko, he might not come back at all this season, so that could be a significant blow for them if they can't find some secondary scoring. Moving on to the Winnipeg Jets, who I did not think would do good at all this season. Losing Jacob Trouba, Dustin Byfuglien's still out. He's probably going to retire. I don't see him coming back anytime soon, especially already into November. Dallas, fourth in the Central. Sorry, they had a really slow start to the season, but I think they're 11-1-1 in their last 13, so it's big for them. They're only 2 points back of the Avs, so they're still in the hunt there for top of the division. Moving on, we have the Blackhawks, Chicago. I actually had Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat in fantasy. I traded them, and as soon as I traded them, they started doing well. So you're welcome, Blackhawks fans. But yeah, they're starting to come along there, Kane and DeBrincat now, and Jonathan Toews even putting some points up, as last year he had a pretty off season. So we'll keep an eye on them. But Robin Leonard's really playing well in Chicago. The couple games I've seen him play. But yeah, that's the Hawks for you. Moving on, Nashville. They're sitting at the bottom of their division right now, second last in the Central. They need some help there on their defense right now, because they're allowing a lot of goals, but they still have a +3 goal differential, but they just need to find some ways to win some hockey games. Minnesota, everyone expected them to not be very good this season, sitting last in the Central. They're 8-11-2 with 18 points, -13 goal differential, which is awful. Still not the worst in the league, though. But yeah, after last year when they traded Coyle to the Bruins, and then they lost some key pieces there. With Zuccarelli, he was injured, and yeah. So moving on to the Pacific. What is going on with the Edmonton Oilers? First in the Pacific. 31 points. Nobody's seen this coming this season. Obviously, McDavid and Draisaitl are going to have good seasons, but I didn't expect them to have this good of a season. I don't know. I think they said McDavid had 20 points in his last 8 games. Don't quote me on it, but that's insane. Like, that's crazy. And also James Neal, he's a pleasant surprise there. He's scoring goals, which he did not do last season, and he's playing really well. That trade is looking really good for the Oilers. Second is Arizona. What is this world coming to? Arizona's playing great, and many people say, Phil Kessel. You look on the score sheet, Phil Kessel is not doing a whole lot in Arizona, and you can't say he's playing defense either. But surprisingly enough, Arizona is 28 points in 22 games, so they're really good this season. Vegas in third in the Pacific. They weren't doing so well past 10 games, but they're turning it around now. Fleury made an amazing save last night on the Leafs, which is going to be one of the saves of the year, I think. Canucks, fourth in the Pacific. I didn't expect them to do as well as they are. 22 games, 10 wins, 8 losses, 4 overtime losses for a total of 24 points. They're playing great hockey there, especially Elias Pettersson and Brock Besser. They're playing some really good hockey. Though the other night there, that non-blown down call with Matt Calvert getting hurt, that was a little controversial, but I won't get into that. Moving on to the Flames. The Flames, what is going on in Calgary right now? They can't get any scoring. They have a -11 goal differential, and they're even talking about trading Johnny Gaudreau, which is insane considering Gaudreau's one of the best wingers in the league. Come back to Boston, Johnny. But no, they're going to want a lot for him if they do trade him, and I don't think he's going anywhere. Still turned around. Him and Monahan, they got good defense there too, and yeah. So moving on to the Ducks. The Ducks are not as bad as most people expected them to be this season. John Gibson is an amazing goalie, and they only have a -5 goal differential. Rickard Rakell is outstanding this season. I didn't expect him to do a whole lot this season, but he's there, and Zilverberg's I think leading their team in points, so that's always nice when you get some secondary scoring. Moving on to the Sharks, who are second last in the Pacific. Martin Jones, I don't know what's up with him. I don't know how you can go into a season thinking that the goaltending is going to get better when you don't do anything to improve it. Past couple seasons, Martin Jones has been absolutely terrible. But Carlson's starting to play better. So is Burns. At the start of the season, I think Carlson only had 1 goal through like the first 19 games, but he scored another one the other night. So they'll start to turn it around here. They just need to get their mojo back. The LA Kings, bottom of the Pacific. They are absolutely playing terrible. You watch their games, it's just like watching junior hockey. Drew Doughty, he's the leader in that team, and he hasn't played the best either. They have minus 22 goal differential, but even it got so bad there, they even told Kovalchuk he's not playing anymore. So I don't know what's going to happen there. I expect him to go back to the KHL. I can't see anybody wanting to take that contract on. He'll be a good he'd be a good third-line player, but for that money, you can't play him for that much money. And his attitude problems, I heard. I'm not really sure what happened, but it sounds like he does not have a very good attitude in the locker room. So yeah,